What's a trade secret you know from working the industry? Arcade crane games have knobs inside them that let you control how strong the claw grabs. So you basically make the claw really weak strength, and then there's a setting in the motherboard to make the claw go full power after a certain amount of plays. Whatever the arcade or owner decides how often they want people to actually win. As a freelance photographer, most magazines and newspapers don't pay you for using your photos. They offer you photo credit only. If you ask to be paid, they just get a similar photo from someone else. Also, if you have a unique photo or video, always go non-exclusive and sell it to everyone. You get way more that way than just selling it to someone as an exclusive. A certain 48-inch interstate natural gas pipeline valve is being kept open by a strategically placed piece of 2x4 lumber. If the valve was closed, millions of people will be without natural gas fairly quickly. Things like this makes me wonder how fragile the world really is. If you are involuntarily kicked off a flight because of oversales, you can demand cash instead of a voucher. Vinegar is the best thing to get your cutlery shiny in a restaurant and bar. If you call a call center of any kind and the person you are talking to puts you on hold with no music, they can hear everything you are saying. I worked in an insurance call center when I was really young. I had so many people accidentally confess to insurance fraud that way. Things may have changed in the past few years, but generally speaking, plastic is hardly ever recycled anymore. It used to be shipped to China for processing, but even they had a hard time with the amount of pollution and toxic waste produced by recycling it. Now it will get shipped to other countries in Asia, where more often than not it just gets dumped into the Pacific Ocean. A lot of municipalities just add it to a landfill. On the other end of the spectrum, aluminum recycling is amazing. When you shop at Walmart, do you sometimes hear the announcement saying security cameras to zone 6 or another number? They play them randomly in hopes that someone who might be stealing will get paranoid thinking they're being watched and will decide not to shoplift. Having a crew that can pass a drug test is not the same as having a drug-free crew. When one guy can pass a drug test, everyone can pass a drug test. If you ship through FedEx Express, if you are sending many packages and envelopes to a single stop, ship one priority overnight and the rest standard. They'll be delivered together with the priority package. Express carrier here, this is on point. I hate having to double back to a stop, so if I see a business priority and 3 more standard, I get giddy because I can do that stop as one instead of 2 separate ones. On any piece of machinery, if the welds you see look like shit, the welds you don't see are worse. If a medical professional ever suggests you get a second opinion, example, a nurse at the doctor's office, it can be code for they are concerned about the quality of the medical care you are currently receiving, and that you really should get that second opinion. Worked in high-end golf clubs for years, almost all politicians register their handicap scores under a false name. The USGA handicap records are technically public information, and people will be pretty pissed if they know how much time these guys actually spend playing golf. Attorneys can really only remember the details of about 20 to 40 cases at a time. So if you call your attorney after about a month or two, depending on the firm or how busy they are, they likely completely forgot what happened to you and are working off a set of notes to pretend they have any clue who you are, especially if you've only really interacted with them via phone other than one time in person for an intake or whatever. All emergency rooms are not equal emergency rooms. In my hospital, we don't have any sort of OB, pediatrics, or any of that. Whenever a kid comes in, or worse, a baby, the nurses and doctors are all in a panic. Not because they're incompetent, but because that's not what our hospital does regularly. Sure, we will stabilize to the best of our ability, and we immediately call the local children's hospital, but if you have a child, for example, in distress, and you have multiple hospitals nearby, try being aware beforehand which one is best for yours and your child's needs. You don't want to rush into an ER where there isn't someone who can confidently and effectively treat you. Agree. My daughter works in the ER. There is a children's hospital next door, but people still show up with kids. They don't even have some of the equipment in pediatric sizes. In the United States, movie theaters spend more money on bags of popcorn than the popcorn itself. When you play match 3 games like Candy Crush Saga, after beating a few levels, the game will make it impossible for you to continue. You will be getting impossible odds. If you put your device aside and return after several hours or a day later, you will find the previously impossible level to beat easy. It is a mechanism to prevent people from burning through hundreds of levels in one go. We actually did find and file that bug in your favorite video game. Our leadership just decided it was okay to ship with it. Movie industry. Unless you are absolutely breathtaking in your audition, which does happen, don't get me wrong, there is a list of 30 people each studio prioritizes to be in their major films. I worked at a small talent agency. We had 4 to 5 people that fit every description, and we sent them all on the same auditions, just like every other agency for the same role. Talent and looks only go so far, then you have to get lucky. Work for an optometrist. If you find a pair of glasses in a clinic that you like, they are likely marked up 2 to 3 times. There should be a number on the inside arm of the frame. It should be like a AK2073 or something like that. Look that up online and buy it straight from the manufacturer. Probably will be less than $100. Don't pay full price for glasses. For every publicly announced data breach, whether that be confirmed or leaked, or the identification of a security flaw, there are 50 other such incidents that companies swept under the rug. Data security is complicated, and most organizations don't have the proper expertise to secure their data. Awards tend to be bullshit. Award companies are there to sell advertising. They make up awards, offer winning titles to businesses, then charge them to include their name in their literature. For example, the business my husband and I own recently won a national award. We were even asked what award we'd like to win. What's the title of the award you feel you'd best be suited to? We could have made anything up, and we'd have been given it Best XYZ in the known universe. To receive a certificate, we need to pay them 70 euros. For a trophy, it's 225. To have a quarter page spread in their magazine, it's 650. For a featured article, we have to pay them 2,000. It's a load of bullshit. Nobody ever remembers who gave the award, and frankly, we aren't daft enough to pay for a featured article nobody will ever read. So we just use the term award-winning in our advertising now. Most electronic medical records allow providers to put pop-up warnings in your chart if you act verbally or physically aggressive. If you yelled at an ER nurse in 2017, the medical assistant you called today begging for a last-minute appointment can see that. At any given point in time, roughly 10 to 20% of the entire internet has a dev team in absolute panic state. The websites you use for every aspect of your life are held together with duct tape and shoestrings. Truth, being on the inside has ruined the magic of the internet for me. Every website I visit, now I just see the potential defects and failures I know are there. Tourism industry here. Look up when peak season is for the destination you are looking at. There are usually cheaper prices at the beginning and the end of the season. Try to book at the beginning of the season. Seasonal workers work themselves ragged and are usually completely burnt out at the end. At the beginning of the season, everyone is stoked to start making money again. Most fossils in museums are replicas. These days, they're usually plastic casts from silicone molds of real fossils, but 3D printed replicas made of high-resolution scans are becoming more and more part of things. Casinos don't need to cheat. We have already rigged the game against you. If you are buying software for your workplace, get a quote and then go silent until it's the end of the quarter. Then call the sales rep and tell them you can buy it today but only have enough budget for 70% of the costs. Your chances for a discount go way up at the end of the quarter. The urine pregnancy test you take at the doctor's is the same as the Dollar Tree one. Some musicians use a teleprompter so they don't forget the lyrics during concerts. I know this because I did it for a few years. My boss ran a teleprompter for Tom Petty for over a decade leading up to his death. It is a strange, very small community of teleprompter and music. I've gotten a few messages asking which rap artist. I used to tour with Nas. I heard a story, I think it was Steven Tyler, about why he still uses a teleprompter. Mid-song, once a girl in the front row removed her artificial arm to pull Rose out from inside to throw it up on stage. He said, "You see a thing like that, you tend to forget your place in the song." When moving into a new rental, before you move anything in, take a video of your walkthrough and mention and point out everything and anything. Mark the date, time, and address. If they give you a small form to write on, make your own. This can save you lots of issues when you move out. The Canadian legal system is extremely underfunded and overwhelmed. If you are being sued by the Crown for a non-violent offense, you can literally filibuster the court into dropping your case in some instances. It happens for violent crimes too. I unfortunately know a guy who's got a case pushed back for so long due to COVID they just dropped it, and he did assault somebody. Worst possible secret. I worked in the main shipping warehouse for a popular lingerie chain. I processed returns. We were trained to use duct tape to extract pubes from used underwear and then repack it as new. I quit after 2 months. Not for me. I was curious and just checked their official return policy. It's completely different than when I worked there many years ago. Is that Victoria's deep secret? accounting firm. If you complain nicely about a late fee or interest charge, etc., added to your invoice, it's likely to get canceled. It's easy to do, and the extra fees are just to discourage people from paying bills late. But if you come back and question it politely, it will be wiped instantly. It's nothing in the grand scheme of things regarding revenue and variances. If you are wondering what's taking me so long to process your loan application, it's because I forgot about it. If it says pre-sort STD in the top right corner of a letter where the stamp would be, it's most likely trash. Fellow post workers unite. Even we throw that shit out. If a menu at a restaurant is large, the food will most likely be shit and frozen. Look for more compact flowing menus. The designer that made the instructions that you got with your table, microwave, bike, never seen a thing. Not a clue. I've got the plan, sure, but never seen it. Yeah, we can tell. This is exactly what I was thinking. Just put together an elliptical last weekend, and oh man, you can tell the person writing the instructions didn't touch so much as a bolt. In recording studios, very rarely is a vocal sung all the way through. What you are hearing is each line punched in individually, almost always. At Starbucks, they have a recycling and a trash bin. They both go into the dumpster. There's a Chipotle with those and a compost bin. They don't compost, and there's one dumpster out back. But I guess it makes people feel good. In real estate, open houses are primarily to get more leads and clients for the agents hosting the open house, not to get your house sold. One of my parents was a realtor, and they tried so hard to convince clients not to do open houses. They only attract nosy neighbors, and no one in the area bought houses that way. They all did showings instead, but clients insisted in order to get their money's worth, I guess. As a nosy neighbor interested in home design and real estate market, I love open houses. Backstage at concerts isn't wild at all. It's not wild, but there's food and drinks and a place to sit down. Watching the band from the side of the stage can be even more entertaining because you can see them communicating with each other. Just stay out of the way, 95% of the people backstage are working. All I'll say is wash the tops of your canned goods before opening them, folks. For the love of God, do it. That coffin you paid $3,000 to burn your mom in? Well, we can legally sell it another 3 times and you get cremated in a cardboard box. Debt collector here. Always request validation of debt. You'd be surprised how many accounts just disappeared due to poor bookkeeping. If you want to book a rental car but they are sold out, book it for a week or 2 longer than you actually need it, and then just return the car early, and you only get charged for the time that you had it. All the systems owned by an enterprise rent-a-car automatically open their system up to long-term reservations, and will make sure you get a car over someone who only booked it for a day or 2. Worked there for 2 years. It's a dirty business, but at least I learned a lot of rental hacks. The US military wastes an extraordinary amount of money, and not necessarily on weapons or personnel or anything like that. Every year, commanders must submit their total spending for the previous year. If they did not spend the granted amount, they lose it next year. So for example, if a commander is granted $5 million for his building but he only spends $4 million, his next budget will drop to $4 million. This results in commanders ordering expensive stuff in bulk, replacing good furniture and equipment, and enacting pointless construction projects such as parking lots that they don't need. Great example, when he couldn't make the budget, our commander ordered 360-inch TVs and had them replaced in the hallways, spare rooms, and tossed the remainder in storage. Each TV was overpriced at around $1,000. Commander met his budget though, so I guess it was a success. Welcome to the bloated US military. I realize most of the government works this way, but this is just my specific experience in the military, which is arguably the most bloated and overfunded piece of the federal government's budget. US hospitals lie on their bills, all of them, all the time. Push them for a code-by-code breakdown and watch the total shrink. Ask them to reference each code choice based on physician's notes and it shrinks again. The system literally only benefits the major insurance companies where the scale hides the impropriety. Subscribe for more videos like this, and thanks for watching.